What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down a move that DBs cannot guard from a wide receiver if ran correctly. So I hope this video helps you guys out. I hope we can teach you a few new things. But also, fellas, if you're a wide receiver and you want to get stronger, you want to get faster, you want to get more explosive this offseason, check out that very first link in the description below for a 16-week wide receiver gym workout plan that you can follow. We give you over 4 months of daily gym exercises for the wide receiver position specifically. It helps with balance, speed, the works. We give you all the sets, reps you need to do, rest days, conditioning days, everything, fellas. So check out that very first link below if you're interested. Let's get started with this video. So the move we're going to be talking about today is going to be the throw-by move. So this throw-by move here is perfectly executed by A.J. Brown. We're going to talk about how you guys can use this, what's the technique behind it, and then how you guys can avoid getting a flag called in the next video. But let's talk about the mechanics first, and then we'll get to that. So what is a throw-by? A throw-by is when you take either your inside hand or your outside hand, depending on the route, and you put it on the back of the DB's shoulder or hip at the top of the break when you drop down to throw him by to get some extra separation. Now, a lot of people, whenever I talk about this move, like I said, they think that it's a flag. They think that this is a push-off. We're going to talk about how to avoid that, but it is not if executed correctly. So the big thing about this throw-by, the only way it's going to work is if you sell vertical. We have to get this DB to open up his hips, and we have to get him to turn and run downfield with us. So let's go back to the very top. Like, when would we use this type of throw by? Because that's the main thing. I could talk about the technique all day, but if you guys don't know when to actually use it in the game scenario, there's no point. So he's running a stop route, right? So he's running like 10 yards. He's just putting the brakes on, stopping, coming back to the ball. Maybe it's a curl route. You could do this on any route I feel that requires you to drop your hips, and sometimes even routes that require you to speed cut. But we have to know the leverage. So DB comes out, he's inside shade. So if I have to run a stop route, my main thing is I would use this throw by if I took an outside release on this stop route. So if I'm running a stop route and let's say the DB was lined up outside shade and I take the inside release, I wouldn't need to use this throw by because I'm turning towards the quarterback. I don't need to swat him by and slip underneath him. But if I take the outside release and that DB's on my inside hip, that's when I would use that throw by. So for any kind of inside breaking route against inside shade coverage, that's when you would use a throw by. So a post, a dig, a curl, a stop route, maybe a 5-yard hitch, maybe a slant, depending on the release that you choose. That is when you would use that throw by move. So you see here, he takes the outside release, got inside shade press, DB is right on his hip. To set up this throw by, like I said, we have to be able to sell vertical. My goal is to get this DB to open up his hips, flip his hips, open up the gate, whatever you want to call it, and run downfield with me. So I have to make sure I have a good pad level. I got to make sure I'm running hard. Everything looks like a fade until it's not. Now, one of the key mistakes that guys will make on this throw by is they anticipate the move. So you see how A.J. Brown at the last second, he throws that hand by. He swats this DB right on the back of that shoulder or back of that arm at the last second as he's starting to break down. That's what a lot of wide receivers do not do. A lot of wide receivers 3 yards before the break point, they start to put their hand, and he's just hand fighting right here. He's not putting his hand on him. You see how his hand drops? A lot of guys will run with their hand pretty much like on the back of the shoulder of the DB. A, you're not going to be running as fast as we need to. And B, that's an indicator of what you're trying to do. We have to use it almost like we are pushing off of a wall at the last second. So you watch A.J. Brown do that here. Last second, he is swatting by. Now, with this throw by, a lot of people say that, oh, you just want to swat his hands. That is not what you want to do. You want to try to attack the points of control of a DB. So the points of control would be his shoulder or would be the back of his hip or the back of his arm. Those are the 3 spots that I want to try to get to. Sometimes a DB will have hands on you and guys are constantly trying to just hand swat or fight his wrist. That is not what you want to do with this throw by. There's a great example of, I believe it's Christian Watson, getting jammed to the floor at the Senior Bowl because he was running a hitch route and he tried to put the brakes on and swat the DB's hands, but he missed. And then the DB was able to just push him straight to the ground. We want to try to attack a bigger portion of the DB. And the 3 biggest portions are the back of the arm, back of the shoulder, and back of the hip if he's a little bit tighter leaning into you. So like I said, fellas, we want to use that on any kind of inside breaking route against inside coverage or outside breaking route against outside coverage. Like, let's say, for example, he had to run like a 10-yard out. and this DB was lined up outside shade. You would take the inside release and you would swap by now with your outside hand at the back of his shoulder or the back of his hip. So let's play this thing full speed one more time, and now we'll talk about how you guys can avoid getting called for pass interference on this move. So we're going to look at a clip here from Adam Thielen. Now, this is where it gets a little bit excessive, and that's when you extend and push on the movement. The key to not getting called on this throw by is kind of keeping your elbows in. Now, let's watch Thielen go here. You're going to pay attention to his left arm and what he does. Now, this throw by is like not even necessary here. I wouldn't even necessarily call it a throw by. This is just like a straight up almost push off, right? But watch his left hand. You see how at the break point he extends and pushes into the DB. Now, that is when you're going to get a flag called. So, like, let's say, for example, DB is exactly like how he is right now. Thielen's on the outside, and he has to run that stop route, kind of like what he's doing right here. If he pushes with his left hand and extends and pushes him by, that's when you'll get a flag called, fellas. But if we just keep my elbows in and it's just a slight just movement, like a hand swat, you're getting his hands off of you, that will not be called. No referee is going to call that, and if he does, he doesn't know what he's doing. So make sure, fellas, to avoid getting called on this thing, we do not extend with my arm. I do not push him in the back. It's just a simple, my elbows stay tight. I push him by, or I throw him by, if you will. We do not extend. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Thielen getting open, but still, throw by is not necessary here, and when you extend, that is only going to make you get called for that flag. All right, so we're going to show one more example here from Michael Thomas, and I just want to talk to you about how you guys can use this throw by move as a setup for other routes. So, obviously, let's take a look here. This DB's outside shade, and Michael Thomas is going to be running a dig. But he's making it look like a throw-by out route. So he takes the inside release, same way that you would throw by if he was actually running an out, but he does a move we call a fake throw-by. So this is just another way to build off of this move. Like, the key to being, a wide receiver who gets a lot of separation is you have to make your routes, your moves, your releases, everything has to look somewhat similar. And if we don't make our routes look similar, we become predictable. So if they know that every time that you run a route, like every time that you're lined up and you take an inside release and you're running an out route, that you use a throw by move, like maybe you don't even restack, whatever, every time. That's what they see on film. They're going to be ready for that. A smart DB will be able to play that, and what you're doing is going to be predictable. So we have to make my routes look the same, and this is all that is. So he goes up to the top of the break. You see what he does here. He puts the brakes on. Where does his hand go? Back of the shoulder of the DB. His elbow's staying tight. He's not pushing him off. He's just swatting those hands. Get the hands off of you. That's what that throw by is. So he's acting as if he's slipping underneath on the out route, and then he gives a move to the blind spot of the DB to make him think out. And that opens up this dig route for us. So that fake throw by can also be used as a setup into other, or that throw by can also be used as a setup into other moves on this thing. So make sure, fellas, you know how to pair your routes together, you know how to pair your releases together, but that throw by move is a great way to get separation. Attacking the points of control, right? Back of the shoulder, back of the hip, back of the arm, and then we have to know when to use it. He's got to run a 10-yard out, and we got outside shade. That's when I would maybe use that throw by. We got to run, he's inside shade. I got to run a 10-yard dig. That's when I would use that throw by if I can't restack. Oftentimes, fellas, this throw by move is more of a reaction. Like off the line, he's running a dig, or like let's say he's running that actual 10-yard out instead of the fake throw by. Obviously, what we would like to do is we would like to restack and get him trailing my back hip, so I give him a fake inside and run an out route. It's easier than the throw by. That's 10 times easier than the throw by move. But sometimes it doesn't always work that way. Sometimes the DB might play it well. Sometimes the DB might guess and know what we are doing. We have to be able to react. This position is about having a plan, but also being able to react when things don't go our way. Let's play this thing again, full speed one more time. Great job by Michael Thomas using this fake throw by and highlighting how important it is to swat that DB at the points of control. All right, fellas, really want to thank you for watching. Really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions at all, don't hesitate. Leave those in the comment section below. And if you'd like a 4-month wide receiver gym workout schedule, check out that very first link in the description below. I'll see you guys next time.